Hello students, welcome to our PHP class. Up to now we deal with chapter 1 and 6. One is regarding HTML and one is sixth chapter regarding DBMS. So we're done with two chapters. So now the time is to start with actual PHP. So this is what our second chapter. Here in our second chapter, we are dealing with respect to what uh, evolution of PHP, how the PHP got evolved. I mean to say the history of PHP. We can able to call it as history. Okay. See how the PHP what programming language started. What they're telling regarding this? They're telling it started as a small open source project that evolved as more and more people find out how useful it was. Some things they are going to start as a small things. So in the same way, what PHP also started as an open source project. Open source means anybody can contribute for the development of what the project. I mean to say, like-minded people. So it started like that. So later, what it makes a lot of sense. Okay, so that's why people used to follow that while developing. Okay, then what? Who's the man behind the actual PHP? Usually, the programming languages they are not going to be what uh, evolved through one man show. Got it? Because there is a team. Always the software development it is a teamwork. In the same way, probably the what PHP team may consist of many people, out of which the man Erasmus Lertroff. Okay, this man. Please excuse me with respect to regarding pronunciation of what this genuine personality. So this man, what he comes with the PHP first version in 1994. Okay, so later, what actually the thing we need to bother, what actually PHP mean? They are telling that it is the recursive acronym for PHP. That is what hypertext preprocessor. This is what the recursive acronym. What they are telling hypertext preprocessor. Okay, so you people are what already aware of hypertext and what do you mean by pre-processing and preprocessor statements. So later the important point with respect to PHP is this is server side. This is what server side scripting language. Okay. Second point is we can able to embed PHP with respect to HTML. I mean to say we can able to combine PHP as well as HTML and it is server side. As we discussed, the web application works with respect to client and server model. Client and server model. Okay. So in the same way, the PHP is going to use to write code which is executing on the server. That's why they are going to call it as server side scripting language. Okay. Later we can able to embed our PHP with respect to HTML. So what we can able to do with respect to PHP, dynamic content management, database interactions, session tracking, even build entire e-commerce sites. This is what they are telling. So if it is a web application programming language, obviously it needs to what? Handle dynamic content. Later database connectivity, database operations are damn important. So then web application is all about session maintaining and session tracking. That is also the PHP is doing here. Later we can able to build whole application. Here they are more specifically telling e-commerce application through PHP. Okay. So with respect to databases, they are pointing something here. So we can integrate, probably the mouse is too fast. Okay. We can integrate PHP with most popular databases like MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, Sysbase, Informix, Microsoft SQL Server. These are what different SQL tools available with respect to software development. We can able to use PHP with respect to all these SQL servers or SQL tools. So there is no barrier with respect to SQL tools choosing. Got it? Later, see what they are telling, how the PHP is user friendly with respect to Apache web server. And yes, they are telling it is what user friendly with respect to Apache module of Unix operating system. So later the great combination is MySQL server, they are telling. So with this combination we can able to work out complex queries. Later, so being a web application programming language, PHP obviously supports protocols. Hope you all know what do you mean by protocol. Okay, protocol is nothing but set of rules and conventions for communication. So if you consider web applications, we have protocols like HTTP, FTP, SMTP. These are what different protocols available with respect to internet or web applications. Okay, so in the same way, PHP also supports major protocols, something like POP3, IMAP, LDAP, PHP4. These are what the protocols. Then with respect to architecture, it will what go with COM or CORBA, CORBA. Okay. So later it also supports entire development. I mean to say, so we don't have any specific number of what layers. We have n number of layers. That is what they are telling, entire development. Then the next thing is what PHP is forgiving. What it mean? Okay, probably PHP what it is not bothered with respect to some syntax and some minor mistakes. Okay, so that's why they are telling PHP is forgiving in nature. Then the syntax, how it actually looks, it looks like C programming. The syntax looks like C programming. Obviously, PHP is pretty much what old, that is what 94, yes. So uh, obviously it will follow what such kind of syntax, something like C programming kind of syntax. Then before we start to learn PHP, we need to go with what the applications, I mean to say uses of PHP. So what they are telling, PHP performs system functions. That is, from file on a system, it can create, open, read, write, close them. What first point is telling, file operations. We can able to do file operations with respect to PHP. I mean to say creation, opening, reading, writing, closing of files. Okay. Later, forms. PHP can handle forms. I mean to say forms, why we are using forms? We are using forms for gathering the data from the user, from client side, and we are what dumping data to the server. In the same way, PHP also provide feasible environment for the sake of forms. Later, saving of data to file, of course, Through email, you can send data, return data to the user. This is also achieved with respect to PHP. Later, so we can able to add, delete, modify elements within your database through PHP. I mean to say DB operations are also carried out through PHP. Of course, if a language is needs to be in the market more than a 3 decade, okay, so obviously it should undergone what different kind of what development phases, improvement updations. Along with that, it should support database activities. So later, some what related concepts with respect to cookies. Okay, sessions and cookies. These things which comes under session management, PHP supports cookies. So later, using PHP, you can restrict user to access some pages of your web page, which is nothing but authorization and authentication. This is also provided. I mean to say somebody is authorized, then only is authenticated to access some pages. That kind of what user management, role based accessing, that is what achieved through PHP. So encryption and decryption for the sake of security of the data, PHP will do encrypting and decryption of data. This is what some of the common uses of PHP. Okay, later they are telling what characteristics of PHP. What are the important characteristics of PHP? What they are telling? Simplicity. Of course, it is following C programming syntax, and moreover they are telling it is forgiving in nature. So we can able to consider it as simplicity. Open source. We can able to contribute. We can able to contribute for the development of what PHP, or we can able to write our own changes to the PHP by adding some libraries. This is also possible. That's why they are what calling it as open source. Cost, of course, it is free. That's why it is cost effective, easy to use. So this concept, how the what usage is going to be easy when we find something which is easier than PHP, then we are going to tell that that is also easy. So in that context, they are telling that it is easy to use. We can able to embed PHP with HTML. Okay, that is what HTML embeddedness. Then cross-platform compatibility. I mean to say different what platforms, operating system compatibility. That is also what supported for PHP. Later, it is not tag based. Okay, so this is also one of the characteristics of PHP. Later, stability, speed, open source licensing, efficiency, security, flexibility, and familiarity. These are the things they are going to consider with respect to characteristics of PHP. See, we can able to justify these points once we go with PHP, and if we personally feel these points are okay, what some of the genuine characteristics of PHP, we can able to tell yes, PHP is stabilized and speed and open source licensing platform, and its efficiency is good, like that. These are what the characteristics, what these characteristics mostly what depending upon the performance. Okay, later we have what syntax with respect to PHP. What they are telling with respect to PHP files are made up of plain text. Okay, you can create them with any text editor. So there is any restriction with respect to text editor? No, we can able to go with any basic text editor. and most HTML editors and programming IDEs. Apart from what simple text editors, we have what good IDEs, integrated development environment, okay, for supporting PHP. Here, what they are telling, they are writing simple PHP code. Got it? This is simple PHP code. They are saving this file with extension .php. Got it? This is what the thing we need to know. .c for C programming, .php for PHP file. Okay. Look at here. Something what here. These are what tags with what PHP text, and probably this tag is opening here and some content in between the opening tag and closing tag. Echo might be, this is what the output statement. Got it? So what we keep on learning the things. This is what the initial phase. Okay. So here what we are doing, we are putting some HTML content in a output statement as a string in double quotes. This is what we need to know, and followed by semicolon, the statement terminator, and this is what the tags. Got it? This is what our simple program. Okay. So here we are executing it. This is what the output. Okay. So probably we are getting this statement in a bold letter because of we are using h1 tag here. Got it? So if you people observe this, we are running this program in a browser. It looks like Chrome browser. Okay, where actually it is what physically the file what we are running, that is what first PHP is existing here. We can able to find it out. Localhost. Okay, so this is what the port number 8080. This is what the server XAMPP. Okay, so we can't able to tell a XAMPP specifically a server. It is what some kind of development environment which consists of many servers, SQL tools, and many more things. Got it? So and followed by the file, that is what first.php. We are running it and we are getting the output. So in our next class, we executing what regarding what this first PHP what program steps. Later we need to know what exactly XAMPP mean and how we need to execute the programs and where we need to store the programs. We will see such what a detailed explanation in our next class. Okay, so this is what the introduction with respect to PHP. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Thank you for listening. Happy learning to you.